Now I've phase aligned and organised all of my guitar tracks, I'm going to want to do a quick balance against the drums and the bass. As you can see, I've put all of the guitar tracks on a VCA, which allows me to leave them all at unity and then play and bring up just one fader and get an overall correct volume for them. So what I want is the guitars to be sort of just a little bit quieter than the kick and the snare. I always want the kick and snare to just poke through. That way the kick, the snare and the vocal are all going to be about the same volume poking through the mix, and then the guitars sit there as a bed. Let's just do that again. So let's try hearing a different versions. Let's have one where the kick and snare get slightly lost and we'll feel the energy that the guitars can bring by being at the front of the mix. And let's try it where the kick and snare are much louder than the guitars and see how that sounds. There sounds about right to me. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point, just getting a rough balance. Now we can start to pan the guitars out across the stereo spectrum. That's going to give us a little bit more room for the bass and the kick and the snare in the middle, but it's also going to enable us to get a better sense of how the parts play together. I tend to do things in the verse a little bit more narrow, things in the chorus a little bit wider. You can do just LCR panning, like left, center, right. That works for a lot of really, really big engineers. So if you're starting out and you don't know and you're not sure about panning, just choose left, middle or right for all of your parts and it'll speed up your workflow and you'll just get used to mixing quicker.
Cool, so now we have them all in track stacks. Some of the track stacks need to be stereo because I've just put left and right into the same one. That way I just have to use one EQ on 6 guitar tracks, you know? And then others like this have to be mono because they're actually just, there's no left and right, it's just one part. I hope that makes sense. So these are all mono, but then here we've got these ones, left and right. And these only come in the chorus, so I'm going to put these hard left and right. And then this is a strum part. I'm going to leave that in the middle for now, and I'm actually going to make it mono because they're all mono tracks. And then here we have these parts which actually happen in the verse as well as the chorus. So I'm going to say that they need to be fairly wide, but not as wide as just the stuff in the chorus. I hope that makes sense. Cool. And then these ones are happening in the verse and the chorus a little bit, and then that one's happening all the time. So why don't we put this one just a little bit further in, like, let's just say 30-ish, and then let's balance that one against that nice and evenly. Then we've kind of got a nice narrow image happening in the verse and the pre-chorus, and then when it gets to the actual chorus, it's going to explode and get wider. That's going to help us a lot with the arrangement. So let's see if we can hear that transition.
You can see we've gone from having all of those tracks to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to think about now. It's going to make our lives a lot easier. Let's just solo the guitars. So just verse, bit of stuff happening stereo, and then happening in the middle.
Then it gets a lot wider with those chorus guitars. Great.
So a couple of other things to think about is, we've got these multi-mic things. Maybe the 57 sounds really nice on some of the parts, and maybe the VR1 sounds really nice on some of the other parts. Maybe in the left speaker or the ones pan left, we want to try and use a different balance of the mics to in the right, and then that way we'll get a sort of wider sound in the guitars. That said, I know this engineer, he's really, really good, and the band have strong opinions on what they want. They know what they want. So they'll have already balanced these. So for the time being, unless I hear something I don't like, I'm just going to leave it as they recorded it, because I know they would have recorded it with intention.
Let's just check that there's a good rough balance throughout the song. I'm going to go to the loudest section, which will be the end. I'm going to check that I can hear everything that's playing. I'll do this just by muting the group stem. This one's a bit subtle, so rather than moving that fader, I'd like to leave that at unity, and we're just going to turn them up in here first. Maybe if I just pan this out a little bit wider, I'll be able to hear it better. Cool, that sounds good. Let's check the next one. That sounds good. Maybe we need to just boost it a little bit or listen to this quiet section. Cool, so by doing this, I kind of know that that needs automating. It's too quiet in the section before, and it's too loud in the chorus section. So I can basically just automate that up a few dB in the pre-chorus, and then maybe it needs to come down a couple of dB as well, but some sort of like 3 to 5 decibel automation move is going to help that part sit.
Getting pretty close to a good, like, static guitar mix. So let's just stick that in. We can just do that now. You know? Let's see what happens.
Five dB is too much. Let's stick a couple of dB more in, and then let's do that for the build. That's cool, because when it gets louder, you get that kick. You like know that a build is happening, and then by the time all the other guitars kick in, it's gone down a bit. That's balancing guitars.